At times, what we think we know about ourselves is just the tip of a vast iceberg of unexplored emotions and truths. This was what Ricardo Oliveira, a millionaire who had lived for years in emotional isolation, began to understand when a young girl, with eyes full of curiosity and confidence, approached him and recognized him. "You're the man in the picture in my father's wallet," she said, simple and direct. Ricardo, caught off guard, felt a chill down his spine, as his family memories had been stored away for so long, like old forgotten relics. This unexpected, intense encounter awakened something in him that had been silenced by time and distance. With that small sentence, a door to Ricardo's past was opened, revealing a blurred image of his brother André. André, whom he had left behind years ago, now appeared like a ghost, but also as an opportunity for reunion and perhaps redemption. It's curious how, in unexpected moments, life places us before truths we didn't even know we carried. Maybe you too have lived a moment when someone from the past returned to light up paths you had once ignored. For Ricardo, the idea of seeing André again brought a mix of fear and hope. This impulse led him to reassess what it meant to truly be connected to someone he barely remembered, yet who still held part of his own story. The reunion between Ricardo and André was a silent display of raw emotions. With few words, every glance between them bore the weight of years of separation, of opposite lives that had moved forward without each other's presence. To an observer, it might have seemed like just two men reuniting, but beneath that was a world of sacrifice and truth buried under layers of silence. How often in our own lives do we fail to face the people who truly matter? For Ricardo, this was a chance to change that. If we allow the truth to guide us, even the most worn-out bonds can be restored. When the brothers finally talked, they became aware of the different choices each had made and how each decision had profoundly shaped their lives. Ricardo in his world of wealth and walls of isolation, and André on a path that, though simple, was filled with love and sacrifice. This is how many of us find ourselves divided between the desire for material things and the value of human connections. Here, Ricardo began to see that life is about more than the pursuit of success. At some point, the truth of his own family life began to emerge as an antidote to the loneliness he hadn't even realized he carried. The journey of reconnection is always a process of uncovering family mysteries, where each step can heal or hurt. Beside André, Ricardo found himself confronting memories and feelings he had either forgotten or chosen not to revisit. Practically, every word and gesture between the brothers began to slowly build a bridge over the years of distance and emotional emptiness. For many of us, these bridges can be built through small gestures, whether an unexpected phone call or a surprise visit. In Ricardo's case, he learned that these encounters are like medicine for the heart, bringing a raw but transformative truth. In the end, Ricardo realized that the true purpose of this encounter was not just to see his brother again, but to rediscover a part of himself that had been buried under the weight of money and success. He began to understand that for every truth he hid about his past, a piece of his soul remained asleep. This is the family mystery many of us face, a paradox of fear and longing for reunion, where what is lost can still be found. Ricardo now glimpsed the possibility of a new life where truth, sacrifice, and family bonds held more value than any accumulated fortune. As Ricardo and André drew closer, the contrast between their lives became impossible to ignore. Ricardo lived in a luxurious mansion, surrounded by every imaginable comfort, yet an emptiness seemed to linger in every silent corner of his home. André, on the other hand, lived in a modest, cozy house where the sound of laughter and conversation filled the space with warmth and life. The difference between luxury and simplicity wasn't just visible, it was almost palpable. How often do we believe that financial comfort can fill every void? This encounter between the brothers deeply challenged that assumption. For Ricardo, Andre's life was a familiar mystery, like an old story he had never had the time to uncover. Andre's home was humble, but sacrifice and truth were present in every detail, from family photos to small objects carrying sentimental memories. Ricardo began to see that it wasn't the size of the house but the soul of the people within it that mattered. On his journey, he faced the hard truth that his isolation had deprived him of genuine connection, something money could never buy. With each visit, he came to realize the real value of a home, not just a place to live. The stark reality was that Ricardo felt lonelier in his life of abundance than Andre did in his modest home. Andre, with his simpler lifestyle, had built a support network, close friends, and daily moments of affection that Ricardo could hardly imagine. By contrast, Ricardo felt surrounded by objects yet empty of meaning and human presence. This contrast was a subtle lesson in what truly makes a life rich. Who among us hasn't been misled by the idea that the more we have, the happier we'll be? Ricardo, in this reunion with Andre, was confronted by the truth of what he was truly missing in his life. One day, watching Andre interact with friends and neighbors at a community gathering, Ricardo felt out of place in an environment where money held no relevance. There, people shared stories and smiles with nothing to hide. Ricardo realized that within that simplicity lay a disarming truth and something he deeply desired: a sense of belonging. Perhaps many of us live on islands of personal achievements, surrounded by things rather than people. This moment was a true awakening for Ricardo, showing him that the real value of life is measured not by what we possess but by who we have around us. Ricardo began to wonder if, over the years, he had sacrificed too much in pursuit of success. In his relentless climb to the top, he had let go of moments that could have forged deep bonds, the kind that turns a house into a home. Andre, with his simpler life, reminded Ricardo of something he had lost sight of: the value of being present. Like Ricardo, we are often captivated by promises of material happiness but forget that, without human connections, all wealth becomes empty. He began to understand that his fortune may have cost him more than he was willing to admit. And so, Ricardo realized that this family reunion was not just a reconnection with Andre but also a journey of self-discovery and a reconnection with what truly matters. Every conversation, every moment spent at Andre's home, opened new doors for Ricardo to see beyond the surface. The sacrifice of a life dedicated solely to financial success was now a difficult truth to ignore. Yet, at the same time, this discovery seemed to prepare him for something even greater, as if he were finally ready for a transformation he had never thought possible. With each new encounter, the reconciliation between Ricardo and Andre unveiled layers of a hidden and, in a way, almost magical truth. It was as if, with every word exchanged, a wound was being carefully stitched, a crack sealed. Ricardo, accustomed to hiding his emotions, felt vulnerable in front of his brother but also renewed, as if a forgotten and dormant part of him was finally awakening. Many of us may experience this feeling when we reunite with someone from the past and realize that certain bonds never break. It's a moment of sacrifice and surrender to who we truly are. Andre, always the more humble and empathetic one, helped Ricardo realize that life isn't about what we accumulate, but about what we learn to forgive and accept. In this process of reconciliation, Ricardo began to see the value of simplicity, bringing him a kind of wealth he had never known. Andre, with his sincere and straightforward actions, taught Ricardo that true freedom comes from accepting others' truths as well as our own. How many of us have felt the weight of expectations and judgments that distance us from others? This reconciliation between the brothers was also a mutual growth and a practical lesson in humility. Along this path of reunion, Ricardo began to see his own journey through different eyes. Each material achievement, each trophy of business success, seemed to lose some of its luster. He realized that growth isn't just about climbing socially but about delving deep within oneself to find what truly matters. He reflected on the decisions that distanced him from Andre, on the times he sacrificed family bonds in the name of ambition. It was a hard truth to face but also liberating. For many, personal growth only occurs when we are willing to confront our own mistakes, and Ricardo was finally ready for this step. Little by little, Andre's presence brought to the surface memories that Ricardo had buried amidst his career. They reminisced about childhood moments, the little secrets they shared, and the innocent mischief they got into together. These memories were a reminder of the almost sacred family bond that united them. Reflecting on those times, Ricardo began to feel that there was still room to build a new story with Andre. It's curious how sometimes just a conversation or a memory can awaken something powerful and transformative within us. Ricardo, once so rigid and controlling, began learning to let go of this armor and embrace the vulnerability that reconciliation requires. In one of their conversations, he shared a secret with Andre that he never imagined revealing. This exchange was a turning point, bringing them closer in a much deeper way. How often, in our own lives, do we hold on to secrets that isolate us from those we love? Ricardo's story reminds us that by exposing our truths, we make space for love and personal growth to flourish. In the end, Ricardo realized that this journey of reconciliation wasn't just about him and Andre, but about something much greater. A life lesson on the value of truth and sacrifice. By opening his heart, Ricardo began to feel lighter, more complete, and in a way truer to himself. He finally understood that reconciliation is not an end point but the beginning of a new narrative, where personal growth fuels a lasting transformation. And so, without realizing it, Ricardo was preparing himself for the next step in his journey of discovery and purpose. With his reconciliation and personal growth, Ricardo began to feel that his life needed a greater purpose, something that went beyond his personal achievements. During his visits to Andre's home, he noticed that the local community had a unique spirit, with people supporting each other despite hardships. It was in this environment of sacrifice and truth that Ricardo found new inspiration, to use his resources to revitalize the local community center. He saw it as an opportunity to do something meaningful, something that would not only benefit the community but also give him a sense of belonging he had never experienced before. The community center revitalization project became a personal commitment for Ricardo. He started spending time there, listening to the stories and needs of everyone who came through. These conversations were a constant reminder that, despite his wealth, he still had much to learn about the true value of life. It was an effort of sacrifice and sincerity that resonated deeply within him, as he was now investing not just his money but also his time and energy. For those seeking a way to give back, it's enough to look around and find a cause that touches the heart. The impact it brings is immeasurable. The transformation of the community center began to take shape, and the impact was soon felt among the residents. Ricardo hired professionals, renovated the facilities, and added spaces to serve both children and the elderly. This project, more than any he had led before, was a living testament that he had found a new purpose. It's remarkable how, in helping others, we end up helping ourselves. Ricardo felt that each step in this renewal journey brought with it a new piece of the puzzle of his own life. For Ricardo, this initiative was a way to heal his own wounds and leave a legacy. He watched the community center become a gathering place where families met, children played, and elders shared wisdom. He realized that the family mystery that had haunted him could be unraveled by allowing his new family, the community, to have a better future. This practical action demonstrated that sometimes, true purpose in life emerges when we dedicate our time and resources to others, creating positive change around us. Ricardo also found unexpected support in Fernanda, the center's director, who shared his vision for transformation. Together, they worked with enthusiasm and commitment, driving the project's development forward. Fernanda gave Ricardo a perspective he had never considered, showing him that the value of life lies in the people we share it with. Each new action at the community center was a constant reminder of the sacrifice and sincerity guiding his intentions, and this connection brought them even closer, making him feel like a part of that community's life. With the community center revitalized, Ricardo felt his heart grow lighter, as if an emotional debt had been repaid. He knew that, over the years, the sacrifice and sincerity he had cultivated there would help transform lives. And at some point he began to understand that this was just the beginning of a new chapter, where his commitment to the community would lead him to even deeper discoveries about himself and what it truly means to live in unity with those around him. As the community project advanced, the relationship between Ricardo and Fernanda blossomed naturally and unexpectedly. The bond that formed between them was like a seed, carefully planted and nurtured, growing deep roots of sacrifice and truth. Fernanda was a dedicated woman with a passion for social impact that went beyond words, and this inspired Ricardo profoundly. For the first time he saw love not as a romantic ideal but as a real commitment, something that required devotion and partnership. For many, finding a love like this is like a new light that guides and transforms. Ricardo, who had always been focused on his own world of success and ambition, began to realize that true fulfillment was found alongside someone who shared his vision for change. Fernanda showed him that love, much like the work at the community center, required patience and dedication. She challenged him, supported him, and inspired him every step of the way. In a gesture of commitment, Ricardo decided to dedicate part of his resources to Fernanda's project, not only as a financial investment but as a symbol of mutual trust. This type of commitment is rare, but when found, it's clear it's worth every sacrifice. The connection between Ricardo and Fernanda also brought him a deeper understanding of what it means to truly love someone. It wasn't just about promises or sweet words, but about standing together even when things got tough. Fernanda, with her tireless spirit, taught Ricardo that true love isn't an endless source of happiness, but rather a shared commitment, where both support and grow alongside each other. For those who have experienced this type of connection, they know it transforms life in unexpected and profound ways. Ricardo and Fernanda's commitment extended beyond their personal relationship. Together, they became a symbol of hope and renewal for the community. People around them saw in them an example of partnership and collaboration, inspiring others to seek meaningful change in their own lives. For Ricardo, this was a new beginning, where love and commitment were as essential as any successful project. Their union was a reminder that, in an increasingly fragmented world, sacrifice and truth can still build bridges of lasting love. Ricardo realized that, with Fernanda by his side, he was more complete than he had ever been. She gave him a sense of belonging he had never experienced, showing him that true love is the foundation for all lasting achievements. He began to see the future not just as a continuation of his individual journey but as a shared path, full of purpose and meaning. Fernanda became, with each passing day, a fundamental piece of the family mystery he had rediscovered, bringing him peace and motivation to move forward. With each day that passed, Ricardo saw that his commitment to Fernanda was a core part of his new life, an alliance that represented far more than words. This new beginning, filled with love and shared responsibility, was a step toward a future where they could leave a legacy of transformation, not only for the community but also for future generations. They still had much to build, but now, with sacrifice and truth as their foundation, they were ready to face whatever the future held for them. Decades later, the impact of Ricardo and Andre's commitment to the community was visible in every corner of that place. The fruits of their sacrifices were harvested by generations who now enjoyed a vibrant, lively community center. Ricardo and Andre's children and grandchildren were involved, each in their own way, in continuing this transformative work. What had once been just an idea, a shared dream, was now a real legacy, marked by the sacrifice and sincerity of their efforts. For those who saw this legacy, there was an implicit lesson. When we plant with intention, we reap with abundance. The community center had become a symbol of unity and resilience, a space where people of all ages could find support and inspiration. Ricardo and Andre had left an indelible mark, something that went far beyond the material. It was a legacy of love, dedication, and sacrifice for truth and the building of something greater. This space now inspired others to get involved and create their own initiatives, showing that the impact of a sincere act of transformation can resonate for generations. As Ricardo and Andre's legacy continued, the community thrived in unity and hope. The local youth, greatly influenced by this example of dedication, felt motivated to build upon what had been started. Many young people followed in the footsteps of Ricardo and Andre, inspired by that family mystery that had once brought the two brothers together and changed their lives. This example served as a constant reminder that true commitment never ends, as transformation is a continuous cycle of giving and receiving. Ricardo and Andre's children and grandchildren also carried this heritage, learning from an early age the importance of sacrifice and truth in human relationships. The community center was more than just a physical space. It was a gathering point of stories and experiences, where each new generation added its own contributions. The family's presence, united around this purpose, showed that transformation is only possible when there is a genuine dedication to keeping alive the values and commitments that were planted. And so Ricardo and Andre's family continued, steadfastly writing new chapters in this story of love and purpose. As the years passed, the community center became a hub for events and gatherings that celebrated this heritage. Ricardo and Andre were always remembered as the men who, through an unexpected family reunion, changed not only their own lives but also the lives of hundreds of others. This legacy served as an inspiration for others to seek their own truth and sacrifice, transforming the world around them. The space continued to pulse with life, an extension of the hearts of those who had devoted themselves to it. In the end, Ricardo and Andre's legacy was an invitation for others to leave their own marks, teaching that true commitment and transformation go beyond time and generations. This space became a constant reminder that love, truth, and sacrifice are the foundations of any lasting transformation. And so, as the community flourished and new stories emerged, the community center remained a beacon of hope, ready to welcome all who wish to transform and be transformed. With each step of this journey, it becomes clear that the greatest treasures aren't found in material wealth but in deep connections and the power of transformation they carry. Have you ever thought about how many opportunities for reconciliation might be lying dormant in your own life, just waiting for you to take the first step? Perhaps it's time to look around and notice who stands beside you, those with whom we share our story and who, in some way, help us understand who we truly are. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications to keep learning about the power of connections and how to transform your own life. After all, each new story is an opportunity to build a more authentic and purposeful future.